A small group of famous musicians once wrote, "We're going down, down, down to Lover's Lane. That's where she drives me insane." However, what this 80s hair band forgot to mention is the absolute and sheer terror you feel running down Lover's Lane after your boyfriend of 3 weeks gets shot twice in the head by whom locals call the Moonlight Phantom. But then again, that probably wouldn't sell any records. So tonight, armed with recently released FBI documents and dressed in our finest zoot suits, we head down to little old Texarkana, where we try to make out why a sex-crazed maniacal killer is stalking an entire town. Thank you for being here amongst this COVID-19 outbreak. I want to give a big shout out to 2 new Tacos Primos that came in.
Yay!
All right.
First, we got Stacy from Texas.
Yo, Stace.
And remember, Nicole, who joined last week, was also from the Texas.
That's right.
From Tyler, Texas, which, Nicole, I have a little treat for you tonight.
Is this a geography question?
I just gave the location away.
You said the answer?
God damn.
Yes. Thank you. Tallow, Texas is the answer.
Also, a big shout out to Haley from Florida.
Hey, Haley.
Hey.
Hey, Haley. And Stacey, I sent out your swag today. Haley's, yours going out tomorrow.
And Haley, we hope to
Or
still
today,
make it.
if you listen to this today.
True.
So.
We hope to make it down there to Florida sometime soon. We were going to be in Orlando. Date TBD on that rescheduling, so be sure to check it out. Tacos come free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys knew that, but if you're a Tacos Primo, you get into the shows for free. So be sure to just let us know.
And we'll give you 2 passes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. On us. The hint was Phantom. So, Nicole, where are we going? Who we killing?
Wait, Jen, tell us about our drink tonight.
So the hint was Phantom. The name of the drink is Gold Phantom. It's made with Hennessy, pineapple juice, honey, a pinch of salt, and lemon juice.
I know what it kind of tastes like. There's something, like when I first take a sip, it has like a flavor of tequila to me.
Oh, yeah?
And I don't like it at first, but then I don't hate it. I don't know. This is a weird one.
It's kind of like a hot toddy, except instead of tea, it's pineapple juice. Surprise shots. Surprise shots. We don't know what they are because they're a surprise.
What was that? Oh, you picked out a shot, didn't you? I was like, this does not resemble anything that's in our liquor cabinet. I was like, is that gin? Is that lemon? It was like lemon and watermelon? Vodka?
That is 99 watermelons. Vodka. 49% alcohol.
That was good.
For volume.
That was really good.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so today is Monday, and it feels like the world is standing still, but I've got a great story for you guys, and I'm really excited about this one. We're going to Texarkana.
Ooh.
Why do they call it Texarkana there, Nicole?
Because that is where, like, the
nipple?
Texas meets Arkansas.
She got it. I was trying to say the panhandle.
Does Arkansas have a panhandle? I thought that was Oklahoma.
So,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Texarkana is a city. It's the Twin Cities between Texas and Arkansas. There's actually a really cool spot called I think it's called the Four States Amusement Park, and it's between literally borders. It's right in the dab of all 4 states. All right, we're starting off tonight on February 22nd, 1946. Mary Jean Larry. Okay, she's a 19-year-old. She's with her boyfriend, Jimmy Hollis. Now, I'm starting this story out at the very beginning. I usually don't do that. I usually go from probably the most brutal murder, and then I kind of go back to the beginning and show you how it evolved to where the killer's got where he is now and developed his MO. But tonight, I'm going to start at the very beginning from when the killer actually started out. So the first one isn't even a killing. These 2 this couple actually survived. They're leaving a movie. Now, they dropped off another couple. So this is 1946. They're in their, hot rod or whatever. They leave the movie. They just saw a movie. And if you want to read this is from the paper Tyler, Texas Morning Telegraph, Saturday, May 11th, 1946. That's for you, Nicole. You got to tell us there in Tyler, Texas, if that newspaper is still a newspaper. I really doubt it is, but go ahead.
She and Hollis, accompanied by another couple, had attended a movie. They had taken the other couple home first and had stopped beside the road.
It's late at night. You just got done with a movie. You got a 19-year-old. She's looking hot to trot.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the time period of the bush. So you basically drive the car into the bush. You drive the car into the bush and you park on Richmond Road. You're in the car and you're doing the whoopty-doopty. You're making out. Okay, you just dropped your friends off. You're making out and a guy approaches, shining a flashlight through the window. And it's a man outside. You can tell by his voice. He's got a scruffy, grumpy voice, kind of like, but you can't see his face because what you think, it looks like he's wearing a pillowcase. Okay, if you want to take a look at this picture right here, this is basically what the guy looks like.
Oh, well, that seems like it came from a horror movie.
So it looks like a pillowcase, right?
Yeah. Or like an executioner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure it was a pillowcase with the eyes cut out and then the mouth cut out. This is actually from a horror movie. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm bringing that up in a second. They actually made this into a horror movie.
Oh.
Yeah, and some other stuff as well, including a video game, which is like the first ever to do this. All right, he's shining the flashlight through the window. He tells Jimmy to get out of the car, and he says, quote, this is from what Jimmy says. Remember, he survived this. "I don't want to kill you, fella, so you do what I say." And then the man orders Jimmy to take off, quote, "Take off your goddamn britches."
A man walked up. He wore a white mask over his head with cutout places for his eyes and mouth. He told Jimmy that he didn't want to kill him and to do as he was told. He told Jimmy to take off his pants. After Jimmy had taken off his trousers, the man hit him twice on the head. Well, that's weird. Why is he telling the guy to take off his pants?
Okay, so here's what happened. He tells him to take off them goddamn britches, and because he's going to rob him. So basically, he has the gun up, his little pistol, and he's like, take off them goddamn britches. He's pointing the pistol. He does. He kind of kicks him over, with his foot. He's sitting there in his old whitey tighties, and the guy, still pointing the pistol at Jimmy, starts going through his pockets, looking for anything. But
Wouldn't it have been easier to be like, give me your wallet? I feel like asking him to take off his pants is an awfully long process.
Yeah, but at the same time, it kind of distorts like your brain processing in the middle. He's like, instead of trying to focus on what the guy looks like, he's like, I don't know, I was taking off my pants, I couldn't,
That's a good
and
point.
then you can't get away as fast either because you have to get your pants and all that.
You're distracted. It's a really good point.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a better way to rob him, though, because if you take off your pants and kick him over to him, because as you'll see, this guy's not very big. Like, they clocked this guy at like 5'8", which is kind of big, but he was like, I think it said like 145, 150 pounds.
That's tiny.
And that's not very big.
No, that's small.
And you got this 25-year-old that may be even bigger. I mean, you do have a pistol, but it's like, you don't want to take too many chances here.
Everyone in Texas has a pistol.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe he asked him to take off his pants, so if he reached into his his pants, like maybe he had a gun. So he said, take off your pants.
I don't know, maybe. But all Jimmy hears next is a loud noise, and he says that he got shot. He thinks he got shot. But what really happened is this guy that's robbing them, takes his pistol and pistol whips him. And that loud noise is his skull fracturing.
Oh.
Because you can hear it inside your head if you don't die automatically. It's basically your skull just and that's in your head with your ears. So you're like the loudest noise ever. You think you just got blown up. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Your skull just tears itself to pieces.
Did I ever tell you guys the story about the time my dad got pistol whipped? That's a story for another time. Yeah. It's for a story for another time.
Jeez. That's quite the injury, though.
His skull is now completely fractured. Now, the guy is looking for money or whatever he's looking for in the pants. He doesn't find any, so guess what? He turns to Mary. Okay? And this is what happens.
He knocked me to the ground, but I managed to get up. As I ran, I could hear Jimmy groaning. The man was beating and stomping him. The masked man overtook her and struck her to the ground again. Then she described the brutal assault made on her. She said he did not rape her, but that he abused her terribly. Go ahead and kill me, she begged him that night.
She actually takes off running. Now, this is what she says that he told him. It was probably miscommunication, but she thinks that he told him to just run, to just get out of here. So she starts running, That's what she says. And then he chases her because now Jimmy's on the ground. He's just been stomped in his head like you see there. As I ran, I could hear Jimmy groaning. The man was beating and stomping him. So now she's running for her life. This guy, this phantom, we'll call him, runs and chases her, knocks her to the ground, and then sexually assaults her. But you said...
He doesn't rape her.
Well, so it said, then she described the brutal assault made on her. She said he did not rape her, but abused her terribly. He actually takes the barrel of that pistol and just goes right up there.
He rapes her with a pistol.
Yeah, he rapes her with a pistol. Yeah. And that's interesting to point out, too, because this is the first time that we see this guy. This is definitely his first time. Okay? Because they get more brutal and he actually starts raping the victims. But it's kind of like he doesn't really know what to do, so he's going to do this type of thing. And the fact that he didn't shoot any of these kids, he probably thought Jimmy was going to die. Or maybe not. I don't know. But he didn't go back and kill him or whatever.
He maybe didn't think about it enough. Like he didn't think he needed to go that far.
Yeah, and in the 40s, you don't have to worry about, someone figuring out who you are if you're wearing a mask over your head and there's no such thing as DNA yet.
Hysterical, the girl ran to a nearby house and found a ride to Texarkana. She told sheriff that she thought the attacker was a black man, though she could not see him in the night. He talked like a black man, she said. His voice keeps ringing in my ears. Hollis was taken in town by another motorist, and while he lay in the hospital near death, he told officers he believed the assailant was a white man. He could not see the man's features because of the mask, the darkness of the night, but his impression was that the man was white.
Interesting.
He wasn't wearing gloves. Well, they weren't really worried about fingerprints back then, I guess.
No, they were. In fact, they have, not on this particular assault, but they do have some fingerprints of this guy. So these guys actually survived. Both Mary and Jimmy survived this whole attack. Now, this is his first one. Now, the reason I'm doing this story, this is the Texarkana Phantom Killer. He's also been known as the Moonlight Phantom Killer. So basically that is the rendition of what he would look like. Now, a lot of people say that he was the Zodiac Killer. I haven't done that story yet, but I can tell you right now, if the Zodiac Killer wasn't a good shot, then it's not him, because this guy was an expert shot, as you'll see. He was a very, very... He was a sharpshooter, no doubt about it.
I was going to say, perhaps military background?
The reason I decided to do the Phantom Moonlight Slayer tonight is because of this article right here. If you want to read this.
It's a cool name.
This is actually Texas's most infamous unsolved murder that they have in their... in their list of unsolved murders. No one knows who did this.
Texas is a big state. They got a lot.
Even though we have a pretty good idea of who it is, we don't actually know for sure. So if you want to read this is from February 7th, 2020. That was a few months ago.
Oh. FBI releases archive on Texarkana's Phantom Killer. Over 1,000 pages available online. Whoa, guys. This is what you can be doing during your quarantine. Let's solve this murder.
I think this murder is already solved. All right,
JK.
What I did with this episode is I didn't look at any other documentaries. I didn't read any books. I simply wanted to follow the 1,000 pages provided from the FBI and map out the story from there. And that's what I did. I kind of felt like an FBI agent for a little bit. And there's like fingerprints and everything. So it's not all just 1,000 pages of text. It's 1,000 pages of everything. And it's not even organized very well. It's not even organized at all, to be honest. So if you really want to look at it, you can get it from the FBI website, and I'll put a link to it on talkmurder.com, obviously. But it's pretty interesting because you actually see the FBI and you see their communication like back and forth. And a lot of it is like memorandums, which kind of drive me crazy. It's like the FBI sends this to the Texas Rangers. Did you get my fingerprint that I sent? And then the Rangers send another message. No, did you send it priority mail or whatever? So it's a lot of that shit. You know, it's a lot of back and forth kind of snail mail messages and faxes and stuff like that. But you do get a sense of how the FBI functions when you're reading this. You can kind of see their writing style and everything else. And even J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI freaking director and the one that started the whole damn thing, he actually writes in about this murder several times to his staff. It's really cool to see. We're going to read some from that tonight. And in fact, I mapped the whole story out from that document. So a lot of the stuff that happened after the 1946 era, 1970s and all the information, I'll gloss over it a little bit, but the majority of this story is going to come from the FBI documents that were just released. So.
Wow.
What do you think?
That is probably a really interesting read. Like you said, like I would love to see how an FBI profiler or, back in that day would view this case.
Yeah. And for all you kind of young listeners out there, you got to be careful because a lot of it is written like in this foreign language that it may be hard to decipher. It's called cursive handwriting.
Apparently they're going to bring that back in schools.
I hope so.
I like
they
that.
stopped teaching it.
That is sad.
So a lot of it's that, but most of it's typed. And like I said, a lot of it's just random communications and stuff like that. So when you see 1,000 pages, don't think you're going to be reading 1,000 pages. Okay, so this is the Texas Phantom Killer. This inspired a movie that was actually remade twice. And I seen the recent version, 2014 movie of this. Oh. I didn't realize it was about this case, but I never seen the original movie, which I'm definitely want to watch it soon. It's The Town That Dreaded Sundown. It's a very interesting movie, and that picture you're looking at is the guy. Now, it says it's based on this story and that names are changed, but it is, you could definitely tell it is this story because the town itself was frightened. If you want to read this right here to kind of understand how frightened the town was.
Terror swept the town. Men began carrying guns wherever they went. Husbands sent their wives and children out of town to visit relatives. Lights burned all night long in every house. So this guy must have been really rampant then.
Yeah, I mean, all right, so he only killed 5 people. Maybe 6, but that one, I think that one was...
A copycat?
No, not a copycat. I don't think that one was related.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think the 5th one was related. And keep in mind, I only looked at newspapers from 1946 and the FBI documents. That's all I looked at to do the story. So I don't really know.
There might be other cases, but
I did look at the overview, and he's only credited for 5 murders and then severely wounding 8. So
I would trust what the FBI would call related to that.
This is... Yeah, but this is the FBI in the 1946. Yeah. Obviously, in the 70s, they have different, they revisit the case or whatever. But so they released the documents from that year. That's what that is. This was in the spring in 1946. He murdered 5 people and severely injured 8. The media coined him the Phantom Slayer, the Moonlight Phantom Killer, and a bunch of other kind of related names. All right, so let me talk about the first actual murder. So the one that you just heard was not a murder. That was him ramping up. That was him trying to figure things out because 3 weeks later, he actually makes his first double homicide. All right, so that was February. Now we're going to March 24th, 1946. This is 8:30 or 9 in the morning. Now this is
March 24th. That's
tomorrow.
Today.
No.
That's a day of the day that we're releasing the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, that's today. So 8:30 to 9 a.m. is not when the murder happened, but that's when the body was found. The bodies were found. You have Richard Griffin, a 29-year-old, and Polly Ann Moore, a 17-year-old. All right, he was driving a 1941 Oldsmobile. They were only dating for 6 weeks. Now, there were no fingerprints found in this particular murder. This is a murder I'm about to go through, and it's pretty gruesome because it was raining really bad. A passerby actually discovered their bodies in his Oldsmobile that morning around 9 o'clock a.m. because they were in like Lover's Lane. It's not an actual lane. They were basically on the side of the road in the bush, right? But everyone kind of knows in the town that's where you get the Humpty Dumpty from. But this passerby just thought they had fallen asleep. You know, when you're in the bush, you're getting bush, and then you get tired, you fall asleep, you're just going to take a little nap, but then it's like 9 in the morning. He knocks on the window. Hey, I don't want you guys to get in trouble. So, let's pack it up and go. But he sees a very, very gruesome sight. This is from the Tyler Morning Telegraph, Monday, March 25th, 1946. I'm doing this for you, Nicole Supremo. There's a lot of papers I could have pulled from, but I'm pulling it from your hometown.
Aw, thanks for joining, Nicole. Griffin's body was found in the front seat of his car, and the girl's body was in the back seat. Griffin's pockets were turned inside out.
As you're about to see, this couple was brutally murdered. Richard Griffin was still inside the car, in the driver's seat, behind the wheel still. But Polly Ann Moore, she was in the back seat. She was spread out with her clothes on, but there was 20 feet from the car a piece of earth, the ground saturated with blood. That's how detectives knew that she actually was out of the car when she was killed, and then she was put back in there. I don't know if he was trying to cover up the rape or whatever, and we've done cases like that before where the autopsy, they don't even check for semen or sperm because the female had all the clothes on. You remember the Taco Bell Strangler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had all their clothes on, so let's not even check for rape. But he just dressed them back up. So I don't know if that was that type of thing or not.
Yeah.
There was blood all on the running boards of the car.
The night of March 24th, Richard Griffin, 29, and Polly Ann Moore, 17, parked at this spot beside a lightly wooded area. Next morning, their bodies, fully clothed, were found sprawled in the rear seat of the car, each shot twice through the head. Griffin's pockets had been turned inside out. 20 feet to the right of the car, on the grass floor of the woodland, was found a stain of blood. One of the victims, the officer deduced, had been taken from the car and slain in the woods, then carried back and placed in the car. The bodies were embalmed before an examination was made to determine whether a sex crime had been committed.
Which I don't really get
Why
that.
did they do that?
I don't know, because honestly, I couldn't even tell in the FBI documents if they even linked this to the assault that happened, even though it was only 3 weeks later in this small-ass town in Texarkana. And you got some different jurisdictions too. You got the FBI, you got the Texas Rangers involved, you got all these, local police, you got all this like confusion going on. The FBI actually comes in now after this murder, and if you read through the documents, they didn't even really want to. In fact, Hoover sent a message out that this is not even their jurisdiction. That came straight from him, but eventually it became their jurisdiction from the next murder we're going to talk about. The evidence was really scarce because there's no fingerprints because it was very heavy rain. Both were shot in the car, each shot once in the head. Now, this was execution style in the back of the head. So most likely what happened is he went to the driver's side window first, and you can't ask these because they're both dead, and then he immediately shot Griffin. Okay, so what you're reading now is a little snippet from the Kansas City Star Sunday, June 2nd, 1946.
He had been a Texas Ranger 26 years, he said, and never in that time had been involved in so difficult a case, in which so many murders had been committed with so few clues. We have questioned more than 1,000 persons in this investigation, including 200 sex perverts, he told me. We've tried to narrow down the field of suspects, but all we know now is that the murderer is a man, not a woman. We don't know if he was white or black, tall or short, fat or slim. We do believe that he is a muscular man, a fellow with a good, strong grip. Also, it is known that he is a dead shot with a pistol and an expert with a rifle.
Dead shot with a pistol, and he is, as you're going to see here in a second. Now, let me just show you the FBI files so you guys can actually see what they look like here, and you guys can kind of describe what I'm going through. I'm just going to scroll through them really quick, and you guys kind of tell the listeners kind of what you're seeing here, if you guys don't mind.
It's interesting that they aren't thinking he might be like a military or ex-military with the shooting. But then again, it is Texas, so they hunt a lot.
That is a very, very, very good point. And there are a lot of suspects here. In fact, half the time doing research in this case was going through all the damn suspects, and half of them were from the military. Half of them were literally just got out of the military. You know, the war's over now. September 2nd, 1945 was the official end of World War II. So a lot of the enlisted men that were serving got out. I mean, all right, so I know how it is. You get out of war, and a lot of the soldiers become conscientious objectors. You know, they're very pacifist with the war, and a lot of them are just really angry. You know, and want to take it out on society. I can say that from personal experience. Not that I'm angry, but I know that's what soldiers go through, that kind of shit. Like they did all this. They had to kill all these people. Now they get back and into civilian life, and they start thinking about it. Should I have done that? Should I have killed these people? Were they innocent? Yada, yada, yada. So they take it out on society. So you have an expert marksman like this guy. So a lot of the suspects were military. They ran about 100 damn fingerprints in the military base at the time just to try to find one that matched. They had one like partial fingerprint and a palm print you'll see in this story. But so this is the I'm going to scroll through this right quick, just really quick if you guys want to tell people kind of. So it's very hard to read.
Yeah, it's written on a typewriter.
Yeah.
There's clippings of newspapers.
Yeah. Office memorandum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
this is
cool.
what you're going to see. Now, this is 1,000 pages. And if you
There's
scroll,
like notes written on it.
There's pages like this, you know, that don't have anything on them.
Some numbers.
You know, this right here is a piece of evidence I'm going to tell you about here in a second.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's very, if you read this file, guys, don't think you're going to be reading 1,000 pages of type. It's very sporadic. A lot of it you can't even read, as I'll show you. Like, it's hard to read this stuff.
Tire tread impressions.
This is hard to read, yeah. It's really cool to kind of see the communication back and forth between the agencies. And especially cool to see Hoover writing personal messages, you know, and sending them out to his staff.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I base the story off of right there. Now, let me talk a little bit about the MO right quick. He was a Lover Lane killer, very similar to someone else. Do you guys know who that is? He was a 45 caliber killer, also known as the Blank of Blank. He had it. He claimed that his neighbor's dog. There you go, Son of Sam. Now I don't know why they haven't categorized this type of killer yet, because reading this story is very similar to Son of Sam. Even though I haven't really done his story yet, but he actually watches them kind of have sex in the car, and then he goes and enforces his will on them. It's a different type of killer that has never been classified to my knowledge. You know, they have like spree killers, serial killer, all this stuff, but they don't have this one very sub-niche type of killer that goes and watches a couple in the car and then kills them. Because, I mean, the Son of Sam is also one, so, you know, there's got to be, there should be a category for these type of people. But I don't think there is. So he's a Lover Lane killer. He wears a white mask with holes cut out for eyes in the mouth. Most likely a pillowcase, but no one knows for sure. Now, he would basically point the pistol and a flashlight, which he actually dropped a flashlight, which became huge evidence in this case. He would point the flashlight and the pistol through the window, order the couple out. Then he would proceed to kill the male first, like most serial killers do. If you're killing a couple, you want to kill the male first because that's the one that can overpower you, right?
So in the first case that we did, is that the only one that had a survivor?
No, but yes. That's the one that I'm not sure, reading all this, if he actually meant to let them live or not. Because if he wanted to kill them, he would have shot them.
So
and he had a pistol, and I was thinking, well, maybe he didn't have any ammo in the pistol, but
it was just for show, because it was
maybe it was just for show, but if he wanted to kill him, he would have shot him off the bat. But it was his first time, so he was going in, this is a new thing I'm doing type of thing. Now, there's one other case where there was a survivor. Remember I said there's 5 killed, and he kills couples. So there's one that did survive. Honestly, and I'll get to that one in a second, I don't even know if that's directly related to this case, to be honest. He was a sexual sadist. Now, that's what the psychiatrist said.
Hollis said he warned officers at the time that the man was crazy and desperate, and he would kill the next couple he attacked. Mrs. Larry, 19, said she was sure, beyond any doubt, that the man who attempted to criminally assault her here that night was the killer being sought by peace officers in one of the greatest manhunts in Southwest history. Hollis, 24, agreed. He said that the man who beat him so unmercifully was a sadist and crazy.
We're going to April 13th, 1946. Okay, we're going to talk about Betty Jo Booker. She's 15 years old. She is the lead alto saxophone player. And she's actually playing at the VWF club, which is like the veterans.
Foreign Wars.
Yeah, Veterans of Foreign War Club or whatever. She's very talented. If you want to read this, Nicole.
The night of April 13th, Betty Jo Booker, a pretty 15-year-old brunette, played her saxophone in a school orchestra which provided music for a young people's dance in Texarkana. She was a popular girl in town, known by almost everybody. At a dance recital, once she had been named Little Miss Texarkana.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
That's from the Kansas City Star, Sunday, June 2nd, 1946. I'm going to tell you in a minute how talented she was at a 15-year-old. Okay, so at this night, this is April 13th, she's playing, as 15, she's playing this alto sax. She's the lead player for, it's a civic event. It's for the veterans, but it's still a pretty big event. If you want to read this, Nicole.
The night of April 13th, Betty Jo Booker, a pretty 15-year-old brunette, played her saxophone in a school orchestra, which provided music for a young people's dance in Texarkana. She was a popular girl in town, known by almost everybody. At a dance recital, she had once been named Little Miss Texarkana.
Her boyfriend, Paul Martin, he's a 17-year-old. He shows up at the performance. They've been friends since kindergarten. Now, he shows up, and they do dance a little bit. I've seen in a couple of papers they're dancing and stuff like that, because that's the last time people actually seen them, right? Now, a little bit about Betty, right quick. She's from a wealthy family, and so is Paul. She's very popular, and she started dancing at a very, very early age. I'm talking about like 2 or 3. And she actually picked up the saxophone when she was in her teenage years. And that's when she started performing at many civic functions. But she was also a singer. She's like the Lady Gaga. If you think now, like Lady Gaga is like extremely talented, from a child. Yeah, she is, right?
She's,
so like,
love her.
When I think of Betty Booker, I think of a Lady Gaga. You guys know how this story is going to end with this couple, right? I mean, they're going to go from the dance, from the VWF performance. They're going to go
Lover's Lane.
Into Lover's Lane. They're going to start making out and stuff like that. And then the same scenario plays over. The Phantom comes up with a flashlight and the gun. And this is what happens.
After the young people's dance that night of April 13th, Betty Jo put her saxophone in the car of Paul Martin, 17, and the couple was seen driving off together at 2 o'clock in the morning. They went to Spring Lake Park and stopped.
Spring Lake Park. Now, if you look at this picture right here, now I pulled this from the TexarkanaDaily.com. This is the actual location they were. So as you see here, they were on South Robinson Road in Texarkana. Now it's 2 a.m. and the Phantom actually arrives. He's probably been there even before they got there, I'd imagine. He's kind of just
like waiting for a victim.
Yeah, he's just kind of waiting for them. From a top criminologist on this case, the FBI actually, hired him to come in. He believes this is what happened. The Phantom Killer made Paul Martin start the engine and drive down a more secluded area from where they were previously. Because, they could see the tracks of the car and stuff like that.
Interesting, though.
He actually makes them drive down like this little, not even a path. It's not even a real path, but it leads into the railroad tracks.
Oh.
If you can see in this photo right here, the railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm. On the north side of the park, the killer made Paul get out of the car. The boy put up a fight. The murderer shot him in the face. Blood stained the bushes on the south side of the road. Paul fled to the darkness. The killer brought him down with 3 accurate pistol shots, one to the base of the skull, one to the left shoulder, and one to the right hand. Paul fell on the north side of the road, about 50 feet from the point where he was first shot.
What do you see from that paper right there? That's from the Kansas City Star, Sunday, June 2nd, 1946.
A lot of words.
Sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter, right?
Accurate.
So, yeah, exactly.
Blood-stained bushes.
So that's what I want you guys to understand. Like, number one, picture yourself, if you've ever fired a gun, how accurate you are standing still. Now you have a target that's moving at a fast rate of speed. From the newspaper, it says, the killer brought him down with 3 accurate pistol shots, one to the base of the skull. The head is the last target that you want to aim for if you're in the military, because that's the smallest area. You know what I'm saying? You want to aim for the body because you got more of a chance to hit them. So to aim and hit at the back of the skull, you have to be somewhat of a sharpshooter. One to the left shoulder and one to the right hand. So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of off, but all of his shots hit his target, which was running, if I can,
wow, that's even harder.
Yeah, so look at this. This is the actual image. This is the actual crime scene photo of Paul that was killed right here. Go talkmurder.com to see this.
Oh,
that's actually the exact crime scene photo right there. So you can see him laying down. Now you can't see the blood or anything, but that's because the bullet went through the back of his head. And so he's laying on the ground right there. So Paul is dead, obviously. Now this is a second couple homicide, as we talked about. So if you want to read this, Nicole.
The girl's high-heeled shoes made prints in the soft ground beside the tiny stream where she ran from the Phantom.
Betty was actually found about a half a mile away from Paul. So you saw the picture of Paul there. A half a mile down. Now this is down Morris Lane. Here's what police think happened. The Phantom actually forced her out of the car and into the woods. That's where he raped her and shot her once to the heart and once to the head. Now, this is her photo right here.
Oh.
So that's her right there. That's the actual crime scene, and that's her legs right there. So she was actually, you see those high heels? That's how she was running. From the FBI report, it says, quote, he put up a terrific struggle. So this makes me think that when the first couple that kind of gave a somewhat detailed description of the Phantom, 5'8", maybe 5'6", so when I see terrific struggle from this guy, he's probably not 6'2" or 6'3". Does that make sense?
Right.
Like he probably had a good chance of fighting this guy off.
So they were either similar size.
Exactly. And that's going to come into play too, because a lot of the suspects that they actually got fingerprints and stuff from were of 6'2", 6'3". I mean, these were military kind of bred guys, right?
So it makes me wonder why is a guy that was smaller in stature targeted these guys
I don't know.
Bigger.
Think about, that's a good question.
Was it like an inferiority complex?
No, but think about the Golden State Killer. If you look at him now, I mean, he's not a big guy. Actually, he was pretty, I think he's like 5'6" or something. Because you remember, when we did that story, he was a pretty broad guy, but he was short and he had that, micro penis. You guys remember that from that episode?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so he was not a big dude, that guy, the Golden State Killer. So it makes me think that since he's not a big dude, he's worried about being overpowered by the boyfriends and stuff like that.
Right.
So if you want to keep that in mind, because that goes through his mind when he's doing this. He did rape Betty Jo and shot her once through the heart and once through the head. Okay. If you want to read this, Nicole.
Martin's body was found lying in a thicket at the side of a lonely country road 2 miles north of here. He had been shot in the shoulder and head. The girl's body was found near a desolate country lane 1.5 miles west. She had been shot in the face and the heart. Martin's body, lying against a hedge of honeysuckle, was found at 6 a.m. Sunday, 6 hours later, the body of Miss Booker was found alongside a road 1 mile away. The car, still containing the ignition key, was located 1 mile away in another direction. No gun was found.
Interesting.
Now, this is one of the first times that they actually found evidence at the scene. They found a black cord, what they call a wind cord, from a man's hat. So, I'm thinking about those safari hats.
Yes,
with
the bucket hats.
Yeah, the bucket hats with the string that comes down.
Yeah,
and
I'm Nigel Thornberry.
Yes.
Tim
Curry.
That little, thing that you
the wind cord.
Press in and then you pull up and it tightens it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. So they actually found that. And if you remember from earlier when we went through the FBI files, do you remember I showed you that little wind cord?
Yes, but you didn't tell us what it was.
So that is the hat cord that they found. So, and the reason I'm saying that is if you look through all these FBI files, a lot of it, I'm talking about maybe 50 pages at least, are dedicated to this wind cord here, and the FBI reaching out to several different agencies, mostly in New York, that make the hats, mass produce the hats.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The Steve Madden guys, that make all the clothing. Yeah, exactly. So half of the
You haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street.
No, I haven't.
Oh, God. You need to do that on your quarantinecation. At Adam Hat Stores, Inc., 665 Broadway, New York, New York, Mr. Larry Listener, a buyer for that firm, also advised that the cord was originally attached to a gray or black felt hat with a black band. He then carefully arranged the cord around the crowns of a number of hats and said that it was his belief that the cord came off a large hat. Probably 7 3/8 or 7.5.
And I want to say the reason I'm putting this in there and you guys are reading it is because I thought it was pretty cool. Because this is actually from an FBI correspondent, right?
Yeah, that is
so
cool.
I want you guys
They're
to
getting
understand
into the size of this dude's head.
Yeah, they could try to find the suspect that way.
I want you guys to really understand when I was doing this story, I approached it as the mindset of I'm only going to learn the facts of this case through the FBI documents and sorting through these. So that is how I'm presenting this story now.
I wonder if he used it for, if he got it from the hat and then if he maybe used it to fasten his pillowcase?
That's actually a really good question, because where would the hat be if he's got a pillowcase over his head? But it was said by the immediate family that didn't belong to either of the victims. So, who knows? It seems like it would have to be his,
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Or maybe he used it to tie their hands and then he went to get it and then dropped it instead of taking it with him.
Well, I don't think he tied any of the hands because they didn't see any marks
Ligature
around
marks?
the hands or anything like that. Literatures, yeah, but I'm not sure. Now, I want to say the FBI did do a very thorough case, even though this wasn't completely solved, even though we got a pretty reliable suspect, if you will.
But then again, this is also 1946, so if the killer was an adult in 1946,
he could still be alive. He could be very old, probably 90.
Yeah.
But he could still be alive, yeah. I mean, depending on how old he was, but he definitely could still be alive. The Golden State Killer is, 80 maybe, or 70, late 70 or something like that.
Yeah, he's older.
Yeah, he's an old guy. Anyway, let me talk a little bit about the similarities between the cases. I mean, obviously you guys know this is the same killer, but both cases use the same firearms. And if you read through the FBI documents, a lot of the memorandums and stuff are about the bullet casing getting tested. You know, as soon as they send it, they have to make a correspondence. Oh, did you get this? Then yes, I got this. So this is all part of the 1,000 pages, right? But it was a .32 caliber auto bearing rifle, and it had a certain type of groove. You know how every bullet that comes out has a certain signature depending on how the barrel was made? It was a 6 left. It was a Colt auto pistol. It has 6 lands and 6 grooves, which is how the barrel's made up, with a counterclockwise twist. Okay, so it was a very unique kind of signature of the bullets. So they knew it was from a Colt automatic pistol. Now, the town was actually terrified. If you watch the movie The Town That Dreaded Sundown, you'll actually see, I mean, because it's pretty accurate on that. But I'll read a little bit from the Kansas City Star, Sunday, June 2nd, 1946. Quote, "The terror has been caused by a phantom killer who is still at large. He prowls the narrow, tree-shaded lovers' lanes that crisscross the flat land on the northwestern fringe of town."
He struck at approximately blank intervals. The prowls the narrow, tree-shaded lover's lane that crisscrossed the flat land on the northwestern fringe of town, and once he attacked at a modern farm home less than 10 miles away. In 11 weeks, he has killed 3 men by pistol or rifle shots to the head, 2 teenage girls by shots to the head, criminally assaulted a young woman, and attempted to kill 2 others. The passion of the Phantom apparently is aroused only by the sight of couples making love. He has struck only at times when a man and a woman were together, either on a lover's lane or in their own home. His method usually is to kill the man, criminally attack the woman, and then shoot her.
Are there any pastors that are suspects or religious officials or people that are involved in the church that are suspects? Because
are you thinking because he was like approaching couples that were making out
and making love? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that. Like maybe he was just really mad that the new age is doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the new kids are doing that.
Yeah, and were there any connection between the victims?
But then he raped the girl. It's like, if he was like, oh, these fucking kids are making out and having sex, but then he goes and rapes the girl. It's
but sometimes it could be like a rage thing, like, oh, you like...
To teach her a lesson type of thing?
Like you think that you can go do that, or I don't know.
No, I mean, I understand that maybe.
Or maybe, were there connection between the victims? Were they from the same school?
No, not really. The women were young, so the only connection really that I saw in this case was Lover's Lane, but that's going to be the same demographic. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to have a 40-year-old and his 50-year-old wife go down there. You know what I'm saying?
No, because I was asking because maybe the killer was like a teen that was jilted by like these girls or something. But.
A teen, maybe, but I mean, keep in mind that he was that sharpshooter, so...
Right, so probably not.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, honestly, in my mind, because I know how hard it is to shoot someone in the head, especially if they're moving around like that.
In the back of the head, too.
Exactly. So all of his shots, and you'll see in a minute, were extremely accurate. I can't see a kid doing it unless... he grew up hunting every day, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, man, because I don't know. I'll show you in a minute. But anyway, so right now I'm kind of sidetracking a little bit. We're talking about basically how the town was terrified. And remember, I said they made a movie out of this because the town was so terrified. And this is a really interesting paper that I read. This is from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Tuesday, April 16th, 1946. And the reason this is interesting is because the news writer here, the reporter, actually goes on one of the missions of the local police. And the mission is to go out and be incognito at these lover lanes, and kind of be in the bushes way and kind of lights off type of stuff and try to catch the Phantom Killer.
Right.
So this reporter actually goes on the road
stakeout?
with a Texas Ranger, because the Texas Rangers were involved at this point, and he was scared shitless. A couple things that I didn't put in this article was, one, he said something like along the lines of, "We didn't find the Phantom Killer that night, but actually I'm really glad we didn't." And, he kind of wrote it in the words of, "Holy shit, I'm terrified."
Wow.
Even though this sheriff right here, Texas Ranger, has a fully loaded shotgun, and a submachine gun.
Right.
I'm still terrified of this Phantom. So even the reporter with the freaking Texas Ranger is terrified.
I registered at a hotel named The Grim. The first man I met was named Graves. It was a weird assignment. The waitress who served me in the hotel coffee shop offered the first conversation in Texarkana. Her name was Mrs. Robert C. Houston. I asked her if people locked their doors at night nowadays. "You bet they do," she said, "and they put a chair up against the door, too." "People pretty jittery, eh?" "They have got good reason to be jittery," she said. "Why, my husband is a special delivery mail carrier. A couple weeks ago, he had to go out and deliver a letter at 9 o'clock at night. He went up to the door and knocked. From the inside, he heard a woman yelling, 'Shoot him through the door.'"
Shoot him through the door now, Charlie. If you read this, it's kind of weird, right? Because what's the MO so far?
Lover's Lane.
Lover's Lane. He's killing couples. Why is the entire town scared? It's mainly because of the news media. All the newspapers I kind of went through said the Phantom Slayer and the Moonlight Phantom Slayer. And it seems like he's going to come ghost up, and appear at your door and take you away like the Grim Reaper. That's kind of how the media portrayed it.
Well, he's only appearing at night, though.
So he's got this great marketing behind him. But at the same time, it's these waitresses that don't go to Lover's Lane or whatever are these men, they're scared to death of a guy that's only killing teenagers in the Lover's Lane. It's crazy how the public perception is with the media,
Yeah.
So the murders that did happen were in a pretty short period. Obviously,
exactly,
they're
3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. So it's, it's like all the other stories we did. How the FBI always claims that there's this kind of
a spree
increase, maybe the first kill, maybe if you're a serial killer, the first time you kill is 1 year and then you wait a year, but then the next time you only wait 6 months, then you wait 3 months. You kind of get more quicker.
So does the FBI think that there was a reason why they stopped?
I don't know, actually. That's a very good question, because the reason this case is so compelling is because he did stop. Or maybe he moved to another county or state, rather.
But he stopped using the mask and stuff.
And maybe he advanced, who knows? So no one knows where he went.
So this is the first report of this killer is in Texas. He didn't come from somewhere else, right?
Yeah, he most likely came from Texas if he wasn't in the military. And then, he lived in Texas for a while and then he got shipped to the military for 10 years or whatever. And now he's back in his hometown. But the reason this case is so compelling is because he stopped abruptly, but that may be because the Texas Rangers got involved. And usually the Texas Rangers, especially the guy that was behind this case, which was notorious. I mean, this guy, the Texas Ranger that is actually in charge of this case, has 8 bullets. Half of them are still in his body from duels. I mean, this is the 1940s. So when he got those were the 1900s. He was dueling with people, and one report I read, this Texas Ranger has a buckshot still in his back.
Oh my gosh.
That he's never gotten removed. So he's a notorious figure. So once what I'm trying to say is once the Texas Rangers were like, we're here, we're going to catch you. It's kind of funny that the guy kind of just calmed down a lot, because you don't really see that in these killings. These serial killers, they don't really stop, do they? Anyway.
Did any of the suspects die?
not around the time that it stopped, but they're pretty much all dead now. Like I said, there's a lot of suspects.
So you said that there was something that came out about this pretty recently. What came out about this case?
No. What I said just came out about this case is that they released all the FBI files from the case. There's no new evidence or there's no new breakthroughs. It's just that it's past,
the statute of limitations.
No, not even that. It's past a certain year where none of the family members will be affected. None of the suspects in there. They're all old and probably dead by now. They're not going to be affected. You know what I'm saying? No one's going to get put in prison or anything else. Like, it's 1946. They went ahead and released all the records. It's not that they're thinking it's going to be solved. And even if it is solved, honestly, the guy's probably dead, right? It's like if we saw the Zodiac killer case, who cares? I mean, the guy is probably dead anyway, right? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the feeling I kind of have from it. But now let's talk about the third murder, which from the FBI documents that I read, and keep in mind, I only read these and newspapers from 1946, I couldn't actually see a linkage between this specific murder and the rest of his MO. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what happened. We're going to 9:15 p.m. This is May 3rd. This is 3 weeks after. Not even. Now, this is the next murder, but I'm not 100% sure that this is even linked. But this did happen, and this is attributed to the Phantom Slayer. 9:15, May 3rd, 1954. An older man named Virgil Stark. He is sitting in his Lazy Boy chair, and he's reading something. The Price is Right just went off. Freaking Jeopardy. Who can follow that shit anyway? That just went off. So he's reading in his chair, and all of a sudden, 2 shots fired through the window directly behind him.
Oof.
This time, the scene was across state lines in Arkansas, 10 miles northeast of the area in which other crimes occurred. Investigators believe that the Phantom stood outside a window of the white Mrs. Virgil Starks the night of May 3rd and watched Mrs. Starks disrobe in the bedroom. Virgil Starks, 36 years old, a progressive, popular farmer in the vicinity, sat in a chair in the living room listening to the radio, his back to the window through which the Phantom was watching.
I cannot see the linkage here. I honestly cannot. Number one, he used a completely different weapon.
Yeah, other than the fact that he was shot in the back of the head.
Exactly. It was very well-placed shots, but he used a completely different weapon. And the MO is completely different because he's not in Lover's Lane with an easy target. Like, it seems like he had a personal vendetta against Virgil Starks. So Virgil Starks, 36 years old, he was a farmer, okay, and he's shot twice to the back of the head, and this is through the window.
He'd have to go up to if you're that good of a shot, I guess you don't have to get that close, but you'd still have to enter the property and go up to the house and to see that he was sitting there with his back to the window.
Mrs. Starks came in and put an electric pad against the back of his chair. She returned to the bedroom and lay down on the bed. The Phantom shot twice with a .22 rifle. His 2 shots, single hole in the glass of the window. Virgil Starks, hit twice in the back of the head, stood up. His wife, hearing the sounds, ran to the room and saw her husband sink back into the chair. She ran to him and lifted his head. Then she hurried to a wall telephone and lifted the receiver to call the police. The Phantom shot twice again. Both bullets struck Mrs. Stark in the face. She dropped the receiver, reeled into the bedroom, and then to the kitchen. But the kitchen, she heard the Phantom breaking in through the window.
Oh.
All right, look at this picture right here, guys. This is the bullet shots through the glass. You see them right there?
Wow.
If you look at this photo right here, this is the window. You can imagine his Easy Boy chair right around here. And those shots are pretty accurate through there.
Yeah.
So
they said there are 4 shots, but looks like there's only 2 holes.
I mean, so he's pretty accurate with that shot. I just want to point that out because to me, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So did she also see the man with a pillowcase over his head type deal?
Yeah, so she did. And she actually survived this murder. Now, her husband did not. Okay. It's actually really crazy that she did survive because she was actually shot twice in the face.
Ooh.
Her husband was shot in the head. He was reading on his easy chair. She actually runs to the phone to try to call the sheriff, and she was shot once in the nose, and it actually broke her nose, you know, the bones, and ricocheted the bullet. They actually pulled the bullet from the wall.
Ooh.
That had ricocheted off her nose. I mean, it still like went in there and broke everything, but, you know, heavy bone could ricochet it. So that's what that did. And then she was shot again in the head, and she still survived. She survived all this.
Wow.
And luckily she thought immediately, I got to get the hell out of here. She just started running, and she did make it to a neighbor's house. Because the reason I say that is because the killer actually returned to the home. So if she would have stayed there and kind of like died on the floor and moaned and groaned, she would have been killed.
Wow.
Because this killer was not going to let anyone, you know, that may have witnessed him live.
The killer returns. The killer broke into the Starks' home, discovered the woman had fled, walked into the living room, looked at the body of Virgil Starks in the chair, walked back into the kitchen, and made the bloody footprint on the kitchen linoleum. He left the contents of the house unmolested, including the money and the jewels and the pocketbook of Mrs. Starks on the bed.
Well, that's different than his other MO. Like, he was robbing at the Lover's Lane. So sounds like to me it was personal.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't know if
Or he no longer cared about the money.
But did they try to get did they get any picture of his footprints? Could they look at that?
They did, yeah, that's a good question. So they did get a footprint, yeah, because he was walking through blood. And he came back into the kitchen. That's where they got the footprint on the linoleum. So if you want to read this is actually from the FBI files right here.
Mrs. Virgil Stark, his wife, was in the other room at the time, and upon hearing his body fall, entered the room and immediately started to telephone for help. While standing at the phone, she also was fired upon and received 2 wounds, one bullet passing completely through the nose and the other breaking her jaw, with latter bullet lodging under tongue.
Oh.
She will recover.
She got shot twice in the face. Can you imagine that?
Nope.
And she still lived. I mean, what the hell? Are you serious? One of the bullets reflected off of her nose. The other one destroyed her jaw, and she still lived in, whatever. That is incredibly amazing. The evidence that they found at that scene, this is one of the big things that they actually pushed in the newspaper articles and stuff like that. It was this 2-celled flashlight right here.
Ooh.
So this was at the spot that the killer fired, and the reason they know that that's where he stood, because he was outside the house, right? You guys understand that?
Yep.
With a rifle. So it's not a pistol like it was from the Lover's Lanes. This is a .22 rifle. So different weapon, but he was standing out, shot through the window, and they could see his foot, his, you know how the grass kind of bends over if you stand in it too long kind of shit. They could see the impressions right there, and right at those impressions was this flashlight right here. Now, they did pull fingerprints from all of this stuff, keep in mind, but they've never found an exact match
Interesting.
yet. But honestly, I don't really believe that this murder is related. Maybe that's just me, but just reading the FBI documents, I don't see how they ever linked this. It is completely different.
Well, I mean, if he still had the pillowcase over his head.
I mean, that would explain why the fingerprints didn't match any of the suspects from the flashlight if it wasn't related.
This is where they got one palm print from the evidence. Now, it was also surmised that it was a Colt Woodman automatic because he had a .22 cartridge casing that was found that fit that type of gun. So let me talk about the prime suspect that everyone thinks it is. His name is Uyell, Uyouell, Lee Sweeney. Okay, now this is from the FBI offices right here, if you want to read this.
J. Edgar Hoover, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Dear sir, I sent to your department several days ago a tan shirt to be examined in your laboratory. This shirt contained in the collar of
The deceased, the
Deerfield recording, Mark Stark.
It's blocked out. Is basically saying that a piece of clothing that they detained from the suspect had the letters Stark, like the last murder, Virgil Stark, which they believe is connected, written like in the tag area.
Oh.
Can you determine about the length of the time this mark has been in the shirt? If so, please advise by Western Union at once. Thanking you for your cooperation, I remain. Yours, very truly yours, W.E. Davis, Sheriff.
I thought it was kind of cool that this is actually from the FBI documents. I thought you guys would think it's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
All right, so this is from the wife of Sweeney right here. Read where it says that she had been with him during the murder.
Told by Sheriff Davis of Texarkana, Arkansas, that she had been with Ewell Lee Sweeney when he had killed James Paul Martin and Betty Jo Booker on April 14, 46. A signed statement was taken this afternoon from Miss Sweeney in something agents of the Office of Texarkana by the county attorney and sheriff of Texarkana, Arkansas, and she stated in substance as follows: that they had a few beers in Texarkana and had driven to the Lovers Lane Park after midnight on April 14, 46, and had parked their car approx 200 feet past Martin's automobile and had walked back to his car. Her husband had .32 automatic in one hand and a glove in the other. They took the boy and girl out of the car and made them get in their car, which was stolen Plymouth sedan, and drove them approx 1/4 mile from the automobile when Sweeney had made Martin get out of the car and climb over the fence, after which he shot him twice. Mrs. Sweeney held the girl in the car. Sweeney returned and they drove down the road and turned around when they came past the spot where Martin had been shot. They observed him staggering down the road, whereupon Sweeney stopped the car and went up to where Martin was standing and shot him again. They then proceeded down the road, driving first up one side, then another, and stopped, whereupon Sweeney made his wife leave the car for approximately 30 minutes, and he raped Betty Jo Booker. So they think the wife is in on this.
So the wife actually blamed everything on the husband. Now, she later recanted her story, saying that the detectives kind of pressured her, but apparently everyone thinks it's him.
I mean, we've seen a lot of false confessions here, so I could see them trying to make something fit and pressure a lady into saying something. Like, what other evidence is there other than the potential false confession? Which I get, a confession seems pretty enticing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't even think that murder is even related. So that's about like what I have from the FBI documents. Like I said, I only kind of read from those and the newspapers. Now, there was some pretty significant events that happened that I'm not going to get into really. Like, for instance, one that they had a suspect that they hypnotized.
What?
And he confessed. One of the theories was it was a prisoner of war from Germany. Another theory was it was an Army Air Force gunman. I mean, there was a false confession, including actually someone that said it's probably Jack the Ripper that's doing this.
Well, that's a false confession if I heard one.
But honestly, I can't really tell you because no one's ever confessed or anything. So from the 1946 release of the FBI files and from the newspapers of that year, that's kind of what I got. One of the really interesting things I want to throw in there right quick is that since this was a Texas Ranger type of case, the Texas Rangers actually recruited their own sons and gave them some, hunting rifles to go out and kind of, be a stakeout for the Phantom Killer. But like I said, the Phantom Killer probably got scared shitless once he read the papers and was like, oh, fuck, the Texas Rangers and the FBI is involved. Maybe I should cool my jets or even go somewhere else.
Yep.
Which, we could have, I saw one case where he may have been the new Lover's Lane killer there in California at the time. Who knows? But I mean, as far as the files that I went through, that's kind of what I got from the case. He's a Lover's Lane killer, and he may be a sadist. He maybe watched the couple have relations in the car, and then he takes his aggression out. So that's what I got. He's never been caught. So if you want to read those files, the FBI has them. You just have to have a top security clearance. You just have to go to the FBI website. What?
Or go to talkmurder.com.
Or go to talkmurder.com.
Not that.
So that's all I got, unless you guys got any questions. But I want to go to bed, so I hope you guys don't have any questions.
No, I'm good.
All right. So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button on whatever podcasting app you use. If you like this story, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. If you're absolutely obsessed with this podcast and want to become our phantom, go to talkmurder.com/join. Become a Tacos Primo. Get a badass t-shirt, sticker, swag, a lot of love. Shout it out all over the place. Tell me what story you want me to do. I'll dedicate it and I'll send it to you, baby. My name is John, here with Jen and Nicole, and until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.
You know, they really need to just also spend more time on penmanship anyway. Some of these students, like...
Chicken scratch.
With printing.
Well, no one needs it. You got the computers. That's the point of computers.
You don't need to write anything down ever.
No, you don't.
No.
When's the last time you wrote anything besides them wedding invitations?
I write a lot of things down.
Same.
Yeah, you
sign your name.
You write them down on the freaking computer.
No,
That's what the damn computer's for.
I use a legal pad.
You're just going to kill all them damn trees. We're going through all this COVID-19 bullshit, and you're just killing trees. Thanks a lot, Nicole.
Unrelated.
The trees are already dead once you buy the paper.
Yeah.